time that I get back in the show pen. You might think, oh, you're at the horse show to ride your young stallion Denver. First things first, repping him on my shirt. Well, we're watching him, sure, and we'll see him a little bit, but I did something and I didn't tell anybody about it until I got here to the horse show. So meet Hollywood. just sitting there posing in all of his glory. So I'm going back to my roots of riding a senior, been there, done that gelding, because this opportunity presented itself to show Hollywood and him be my new show partner. And he is amazing in so many ways. And I think it truly is for the best to get back into the show pen with a horse that I can grow my confidence with, that, you know, I can dip my toes with, and he can teach me some things before I start showing my young horses, since I've been out of the show pen for like a decade. So let's get into the show, because I've already shown him twice. We're out here just in the pasture, letting him have some free time, roll. He's done a lot of rolling, and just letting him be a horse for a little bit, since he's been working so hard for me, and we've had a lot of fun. So let's back it up a little bit to our first lesson. So I did not expect to ride Hollywood the very first day we got here. I kind of thought we were gonna get here, have the night to just chill, and then have my lesson the next morning. Well, I'm being coached by Charlie Cole and Jeff Malott this year and at this show. And Charlie, who is helping me mainly with the Western riding, was like, hey, I really want you to ride as many times as possible before we show, and I think you should come ride this evening. And obviously I'm like, yes, let's do it. And so we got off the plane and changed clothes and went to riding. And it was actually kind of insane how well we fit together. You know, when you go into riding a horse for the first time, you kind of expect awkwardness. You expect there to be like lots of leeway for mistakes, because you don't know each other, you don't know that horse's buttons, that horse, you don't know the pressure that you need to use. And so there's usually just a lot of learning experiences, especially in the first ride, first 20 rides. Well, Hollywood and I really just clicked, and he feels a lot like one of my older geldings that I showed for a really long time named Calvin. And I really haven't clicked with a horse the way I clicked with Calvin since then. And I haven't shown Calvin since 2016, so a decade. And I'm not saying we're there yet, but I feel that with Hollywood. It's a certain demeanor, it's a certain like rhythm to his stride. It's just very similar, and I think he's my type for sure. So I changed leads in the first ever lesson we did, and honestly just every ride from there got better. And so we went into the very first time showing, and I did have some nerves that morning. I'm not gonna lie, like my stomach was upset, I was jittery. Hollywood was not. Hollywood is full of confidence. Hollywood knows his job. Just a little bit about him. So he's an AQHA World Champion in the Western riding, Reserve World Champion, like multiple trophies at the World Show in the Western riding. He's also a Congress champion in the Western riding, Congress champion in the trail. Now, he's older, he's 18 years old. His sire is invitation only, which kind of like is a dream of mine to have a horse by invitation only already. So that was really, really cool. So here's the thing. I had some custom chaps made, and they're very custom for me 8 months ago, which means I am this much bigger in the hips. So we're gonna have to squeeze. Yeah. Yeah. So remember, I think we just gotta like have it way hoisted up more than we thought. So this is where one of you that has really good dexterity with your fingers. I feel very secure and very, I don't feel lumpy. I thought I was gonna feel lumpy.
No,
I don't feel lumpy.
Not lumpy, not frumpy.
I mean, am I Rachel? No. I threw up this morning a few times, but It's fine. They were like, do you get nervous and stuff? I was like, no, And then this morning I walk out and they're like, so that's how it goes. I was like, no, it didn't used to. He also is 18 years old. So he's an older guy. He's been around the block. He's shown for 16 years. Like his first ever Congress championship or reserve Congress championship was in the Western Pleasure as a 2-year-old. So he's just been in the game for a long time and knows his job. And so now he is strictly a Western riding and trail horse, which are the 2 classes that I'm very excited to kind of dedicate some time to and get back in the swing of things with, in the hopes that I can show my young stallion Denver in those classes in the future. So this kind of allows Hollywood to kind of prep me and teach me some things. In the past, I was pretty good in the Western riding with my old show horses, but have never done trail. And so this is definitely going to be a learning experience. But the first day of Western riding, I had some nerves, but once I got on, like I said, every ride just kept getting better. And Charlie Cole's an absolutely phenomenal teacher and had me very well prepared. And so we said, let's do the level 1. Let's do the level 1 amateur Western riding, put no pressure on it. It's okay if things mess up. It's okay if you hit a cone. It's okay if you DQ. It's okay. And I went in and had my highest scoring Western riding run of my life, literally ever, which was amazing. So we won. We won our very first class, which was the level 1 amateur Western riding. And so we said, okay, I know you haven't practiced the line yet, but let's just do it. Let's do it. So I did the line 1 time outside, and then we sent it. We just said, let's do it. And I was second under all the judges in the Western riding for the amateur class, which is significantly more competitive. So that was amazing. He's a very, very good boy. Obviously, with these been there, done that show horses, like they know their job. You still have to be able to tell them to do their job. They can kind of have a little bit of forgiveness in some areas, but you ultimately still have to know their little tricks and whatnot, because sometimes when they've done it a long time, they start anticipating and they think they know their job better than you, so then they start doing things out of turn. So there's that. But overall, he's a very easy guy to get along with. I feel like we just meshed and came together, and it was really, really beautiful. And I did cry. I cried like halfway through my first pattern. I don't know if the judges had pity on me because I had tears down my face, but.
All right, it's game day.
It's game day number 2, but today is the I don't know, game day. Like yesterday, I was more confident that I let on yesterday. Not very confident today.
Didn't you wear that yesterday?
Shut up, Rachel.
That was pretty good.
Thank you.
That was really good.
I already said I needed another outfit because when we're doing these days that are like I show 4 days in a row, I need some variety.
Yeah.
That was never a thing up until like this year.
Yesterday.
Yeah. This is a new problem.
Yesterday.
It is not even a problem. I'm making it a problem.
100% power! I'm giving it everything I got.
So is it bend first and then snap?
It's just right here.
It's just the knees. I have freaking
No, you gotta
linebacker
bend,
knees.
you gotta pull together, and then you gotta go
This way.
down and back up, down and back up, down and back up.
It's a shimmy. Oh, look at you.
How'd you get?
Did I get skinnier?
No, I unlocked new tech last time we were here. That was
That was
lightning,
like
yeah.
ridiculous.
That was the equivalent of like unsnapping a bra with one hand.
Was this the harder leg yesterday?
Yes.
Yes.
But it was the easier one at home, which is crazy.
Yes.
Oh! Did you just break it?
No, you just recessed.
Oh, that's my skin. Hey, what did we do yesterday that really helped? I feel like, was it like a...
Started freaking out.
Are you straight or bent?
I'm straight right now.
No, be bent.
There we
Get
go.
bent.
There we go.
There we go.
Now straight.
So it's bend
Yes.
at the thigh, snap at the knee. We're now going to go walk the course, come back and get Hollywood, go up and try not to disqualify. Speed bump.
Hold on.
So here's the thing. We practiced it backwards. So we're doing the whole pattern the opposite way that we practiced it. It'll be fine. It'll be good. So now on to trail, which again, I said I don't really have a lot of experience with. I showed it a little bit, always on green horses, meaning on horses that had not done it a lot. And that, you know, mixed with me who hadn't done it a lot, we didn't have that much success, but it was fun. And so I just didn't really have the experience behind me going into this show like I did with Western riding. So there's lots of little tricks of the trade when it comes to riding big patterns like that to set yourself up for the next maneuver when there's like tons of them at the same time. And so Jeff Malott is who is helping me in the trail, and he gave me my first lesson. It went okay. Like, I think it still went well. We spent an hour and 20 minutes, which a lot of that time was spent just talking and trying to make things make sense in my head so that when I was riding Hollywood, I knew how to ask for certain things correctly. I felt really confident in some spots, not so much in others. I'm not a very patient person. So the gate and back through are definitely a challenge for me. But it went well. We did each obstacle probably like 4 to 7 times. And it was, you know, we ended on a good note, but it was very enlightening as to how difficult trail is. And then next morning, we realized when we get there to show, we had practiced the entire pattern backwards. So whereas we ended the pattern with the back through, it started with the back through. So every single obstacle just went in reverse, which was, you know, you're having to remember like a whole course of like 10 obstacles. It was a little bit daunting to, you know, morning of, and you're up there with your horse and you're about to show, like switch gears. And that was on us for not checking that, right?
Does
like
that make the right turns, left turns?
Oh yeah, everything was backwards.
Wow.
Everything was backwards. And so I am very proud that we got through this pattern. I'm not going to say cleanly because we had some ticks, and that was on me for, you know, again, not having his stride really figured out, like to have enough oomph to get over the poles and clear them. A lot of the part of trail is finding your spots. So placing his feet where they need to be to set him up for success. Hollywood really did his job. There was a couple times where I just was like, oh, you did that for me. Thank you. Like he found his spot for me. And I just took deep breaths. Like, you know, Charlie kind of made fun of me a little bit because he was like, I saw you at the back through after you did your gate. You just went, because like I truly was like, I've got to slow myself down. I'm getting too rushy. But we made it through with only one fern eaten. Only one fern got the chompers of Hollywood. He really liked the fern, and I should have prepared for that a little better because he was doing it in practice too. But I do love that as a big bad show horse, he's still goofy and has a personality. And, you know, you'll see out here in the pasture, he's, you know, romping and playing and rolling, and he can still be a horse. So we did win under one judge, and we're third on the other in the trail, which was the level 1 amateur. We're not doing the amateur because the amateur is really high poles. And again, he's 18. We want to take care of his joints. We want to set him up for success. And he's just not the most like picky up footy horse. So I don't think it would be very successful anyway, but we're sticking with the level 1 amateur. The pattern's a little easier. The amateur, I think, would be a little bit above my pay grade as well. So I think we're setting ourselves up for success. It's been very fun. I feel very grateful. Old horses that are been there, done that are fantastic teachers. And that's what I grew up on. And I think this is the move because it's been so fun. And I think that's what horse showing needs to go back to being for me after it was a very stressful thing in my life for a while. I loved it and I still love it, but I'm so happy to have fun. So that was the first 2 days. And tomorrow we show again in the Western riding. So okay, we're taking a little break from the horse showing aspect because we got done early this morning and I need to do some shopping. I've already ordered a work saddle from Harris Leather and Silver Works, which is the company that I've shown I've had a show saddle with them, a work saddle with them, my show halter, my show set, like everything is Harris, right? Like years and years that we've used their products and they are fantastic. So we're here with Mr. Phil Harris himself and I think it's gonna be really fun. We are gonna go actually fit my stallion Denver for his show halter since he is a halter stallion now. So Mr. Phil, what do you think we need to do?
Well, first, it's great that we have the horse here to
Yes.
try and fit.
Yeah.
So that's a real plus for us. And we have several here that we can choose from that are full-size halters. And with the stallion, we might have to do a custom piece
Right.
for you. So that's why we're going to take it down there and put it on, try it on, make sure that everything, where we need to make the adjustments.
Because he does have a really big masculine jowl and, you know, he's got kind of a dishy face, so I don't know if that's going to affect the way it kind of lays on him. So.
It probably will. It probably will.
Yeah.
But the halters have a three-way adjustment underneath, so you can adjust the muscle, you can adjust the gullet and the throat. And
Right.
So a lot of options here, and we can even add a longer crown piece if we need. And we can do custom logos and things like that if you want to do something like that.
I was already thinking, I really think the First Things First logo, because it's really cool with like FTF, it would be cool on the buckle. But I think you said, did you say we could do a little bit on the side plating even?
Yeah, we can do as typical with the logo and the buckle. We can do things on the corner braces.
Oh.
And then we've come up with some new designs that have an oval here or a rectangle here that's overlaid onto the bar, and we've done some really cool logos like that. So
Okay.
I'll show you all those, and maybe we can figure out something that you might like.
We could do something pretty cool. And then when I come back from that, we're gonna grab a little work saddle to try on Hollywood, and we're gonna do a little ride later in the Grand Arena, because I was like, I can't come here and not ride in the Grand Arena.
Oh yeah,
So
absolutely.
we're gonna utilize the testing ride that way. So anyway, let's head over to the barn and we're gonna go fit Mr. Denver. You know, he didn't have a big head by any means, but it's kind of unique in the fact that he's got this dish, big old jowls. I mean, stallions usually have like a little bit bigger face. That testosterone puts a lot of mass onto their head and onto their neck. So that's why we wanted to make sure that now that, I mean, we're a Congress champion halter horse. Like we gotta have a halter that's just ours, right? So let's see what we think.
All right, take that one off. Here. He's not gonna run off, is he?
He's a mean one, I'll tell you that.
He gets like a big one. We'll go in here. All right.
See? I got you. So I see you bending that nose piece, so they're flexible.
Yeah, pretty much. You can break them if you do it over and over, like these guys that show professionally all the time. You can break them.
Okay.
But we repair them a lot too. And
Yeah.
so, but you want it to fit nice and contoured to his nose.
Okay.
He has a beautiful face here. He's a very pretty.
So that's what I was just about to tell you. It looks a little,
All right, let's
I
do
don't know
this.
if it's going to be very,
Yeah, you're gonna have to make some adjustments. It's right off the shelf. So we're gonna bend. This throat latch has a wire in it,
oh, I see.
and it allows you to shape it to his jaw. And then this gullet piece here on the bottom, we need to loosen that up a little bit, get a little more room, get that up here closer to his eye like that.
Okay.
So that helps us fit it a little better. He can probably, he's got sort of a small nose there. We can take up this muscle.
He's got a very refined head.
He really does. You know what? I'm liking him. He's standing here like a little pro.
He showed Western riding all morning, so I do think he's probably a little on the tired side.
Yes. Okay.
And hold on, while we're sitting here and you're finishing that, I'm gonna check the standings because he was leading it earlier. Let's see. He's leading it still.
Awesome.
It's pretty good. It looks pretty snazzy on him, not gonna lie.
We've got a pretty good fit here.
Mm-hmm.
So we got a pretty good fit. We would have to have probably a little longer crown, maybe. I don't know. It looks pretty good there too.
Does now over time, does that crown leather stretch until do you want it to be a little snugger at first, or?
You do, yeah. It won't stretch bad, but if you use it no more than you're probably going to use it, it's probably not going to stretch.
He's literally going to be at the big shows in the halter.
Yeah.
That's it.
5 or 6 times a year.
Maybe. And for photo shoots. That's about it.
That's a pretty nice fit. Looks
I think so
good
too.
on this side.
To me, I feel like this line is so gorgeous. I'm thinking we don't do anything here. I think doing something on like a buckle and even there
Yeah.
would be really flashy without messing with this like really clean line.
We could
to
do,
me.
yeah, we could even put your logo here and your initials here and
Uh-huh.
here on the other side.
Yeah,
That'd be really cool.
I think that'd be beautiful. He's got to have something that it's for him, you know?
Do you want to see any of these other couple that we brought over here?
Sure.
I think that
I think this fits it.
this square size, these square edges, I mean, really look good on this stallion. We don't want to do anything that might give him a little bit of a feminine look.
Right. Which is crazy how that can happen. Like mares, they have a feminine expression a lot of the times, and so halter it can change the look for sure. This has the rounded edges.
Yeah, this one has the rounded edges and the silver scrolls, and I think there's
I see it's
blue
got a
stones.
little bit of stones in
Yeah,
there.
blue stones in there.
Be
Kind of cool.
Which I don't know why, because I like my bling on my outfits. I'm not usually a huge stone on the halter person.
Yeah,
I kind of like a really just traditional.
nothing wrong
Silver.
with that. And that's probably a little more stylish for us right now. We probably
Yeah.
sell more of those than we do the ones with the stones.
Yeah.
It just depends on the horse and the person buying it.
Well,
We all like different things, thank goodness.
yeah, it wouldn't be very fun if everyone liked the same thing.
No, it wouldn't. Once you get all this loosened up and adjusted, you want this bone to stay above this corner breast.
I see.
So that's pretty good right there. When we custom make it, we might even make your cheek just a little bit longer so that it'll drop down here. But we don't want to go too far because then it's too low on his nose,
Right.
and this doesn't fit under here.
Mm-hmm.
But looks like he's going to be a pretty easy
You
fit.
know, the stones are very pretty on him, I will say. It's still not probably what I will choose, but it's a nice little touch. I like it.
And he has that nice big stud jowl, but it's not overly long. It's just good and thick, and looks really good.
Awesome.
That's really good. And I love his color. Oh, he's pretty.
He's really pretty. We're very proud of him. So he needed his own halter.
Yes, he did.
All right, well, thank you so much for fitting. Y'all are gonna have to see the finished result of what we figure out and play with later. But let's head back because I gotta go steal a saddle. One thing to note, this is the saddle I'm trying out because it's a new tree that I've never ridden in before. I grew up showing in the Harris tree, which is still available, but you have 2 new trees, right?
Yes.
And this is the G3.
This is just.
So what's the difference between the Harris that I've ridden in versus this one?
This one has a different seat in the front and a different a cantle in the back. The seat in the front is what we call a mid-rise pleasure seat. The seat stops kind of midway at the back of the swell here in the front. And the swell's a little thinner than the swell that you're used to because it doesn't have to accommodate that equetation seat. The cantle is probably the most drastic change that you're going to really feel, and that is the cantle is a 3.5 inches, and it's more round instead of oval. The cantle on the standard Harris tree is more oval and a 1/2 inch shorter here.
So what does that do to your seat when you're sitting in it?
So when you're sitting in it, you're going to feel a little more support in the back there.
By this one?
By this one, yes, than the other one. It just gives you a safety cushion,
Okay.
I guess. That some people like that feel back there. They like a little bit more behind.
What is that? What is that? No, it's, what is that?
It's we have an overhead up there, obviously, and there's storage up there, and there's little stools up there they ride around on and get boots and things like that. And it sounds like an F-15.
That's so funny. The original Harris tree that I ride in is a little higher here, so it's considered like an equitation seat, I
Right.
guess. We're just gonna go test this out. I already ordered one of these because they're very light as well, correct? And we needed a lighter saddle at home just for the young ones. We're going to try this out. This is a size 16, whereas I need a size 16 and a half. So it's a smidge different than what I would be ordering. But it's not going to be that big of a difference. I'll still be able to feel if I like it versus the one that I have at home that I've had for 12 years now. I actually got it for my graduation present, and it has my name on it. So if I end up, depending, because I want to get a new work saddle. Don't judge me. We're going to maybe do a little trade-in, and I would like probably my name to be on my show saddle too, but we'll get into that later. I got to figure out which tree first. So we're going to take this to Hollywood. It's going to be a few hours from now because we're going to go ride in the Grand Arena. So we'll see you then.
What's the difference in a 16 and a 16 and a half?
About a half inch.
And cut.
He's a silly boy. Good thing there's no ferns in the Western Riding.
So is this
The same as the first day.
it's basically a repeat kind of deal, or is the pattern different?
Pattern's different.
Okay.
So in Western Riding, they have, I think, 6 patterns. I think. So I think it's 6 patterns, and they stay that way. Like, there is no additional ones.
For all time.
For all time.
Yeah.
Like, trail, horsemanship, equitation, like, those change. And people can make up new patterns and whatever. The Western Riding, we just go off of the same pattern list. So the first day was pattern 2. Today, instead of doing the crossovers first, I'm doing, like, I go over the log, right lead, come around the bottom, and then do the line first, and then do the crossovers. So they have kind of like pattern 2 and pattern 4 are the kind of versions where they have like a flip-flopped, where you come in from the other side. So it kind of gives you the opportunity to like start on both leads for both of those patterns. And then they have a couple of different ones that are really, I haven't really shown a lot, where they kind of like split. I honestly can't even explain it. It's like where you do 2 crossovers, 2 line, and then you come around, 2 line, 2 crossovers. Like you split it up. Anyway, it's fun. Okay, so we did the first Western Riding day, the first trail day. Then we did it all over again, which we're going to react to. So I've got these little videos on my phone, and we're just going to watch. So we're going to start watching the novice amateur Western Riding on the second half of the show. Hollywood, you know, he's such a solid guy. You never get into the show pen with him, or at least I haven't yet, and felt him, you know, get tense or anything like that. He just stays so calm. So I try to match that energy by just taking a deep breath. And in the Western Riding, you're generally always going to have a good little walkways before you start trotting, which that's a good spot kind of to take a breath and chill. So the jog log is first in this pattern. There are a set number of Western Riding patterns that you'll always choose from. There's 6 of them. I do remember I didn't get him over that log quite as good, and we did tick it. Let's see, for the lope off. I think I was about a stride late there, but it was still soft. His trot is just really hard to get like a good rhythm to. So this pattern, you go around the bottom. You know, you're starting on your right lead, and then you do the line first. In the novice amateur, you're going to skip the first change, and you kind of do every other one. So I kind of come from a bit of a farther over angle, and then like I'm coming at it diagonally versus staying straight like I do if it's a whole line. So that was a really cute change. He did it right in the middle. We have a really good rhythm. The one thing I think I could, that was a little bit early, like a stride early. The one thing I could improve on is having him in that pace by the first lead change. It's kind of like I got the pace after that first lead change. So then he kind of settles back down, and I have him on a really nice long drape. He's settled in. Now, you can't really see it in the video, but across the centers, there's one way where he really wants to like dive over, and so you kind of have to combat that. But he stays looking so nice. So it's like you can't even notice as the person watching. It's just when you feel it. Let's see this change. Cute. He's got such a cute expression with his ears up. We had a really good rhythm going. Cute. So this is the last change of the whole thing. 2, 3, there we go. Cute. Then coming to the log again, I'm going to lope him over the log. I try to just like settle and let the log come to me, not try to rush him to it, let him get into that rhythm, and I'm just counting 1, 2, 1. And he took the long stride there, but because he's a longer strided guy, it doesn't really look offensive. But there you see, he kind of tried to stop a little bit too early, and you could see that I had to push him forward another 2 strides before I stopped him. And so that actually ended up giving me I think it was zeroed out on this pattern. I think they zeroed me instead of giving me a plus on my stop and back. But that's the first time I felt him at all try to, like, I don't even want to say cheat me because he's such a good boy, but like that's the first time he's ever tried to like cheat in the show pen. Like he just wants to stop, you know? So then going into the amateur, I went in knowing that. And so like outside I had taken him over the log a couple of times before we went back in. And the thought process in the head was like, okay, ride like you're going all the way to the rail. And you'll see how it ends up. So again, walking in really calm. He's such a good boy in that he doesn't get into the show pen and try to necessarily anticipate. Like he knows we're about to trot off, but he just waits on me to ask him. I think I had a bit better of a jog in this one, a little bit better step, a little marchier for him to get over that pole. I lope off. I did it a little bit better timing this time because he, not even he, I did a little bit better timing, just me asking him better. He's very good about waiting, so that was all on me. And again, I'm not yet to that first lead change, but I could have him going a little bit more forward instead of getting into that forward motion within the lead changes. Like I should have had him going a hair more, but that first lead change was still pretty good. So 3, there we go, in the center, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. So it does get a little bit off paced. I think I still saved it and had those centers with my lead changes, but those last 2 probably weren't the best ones. And then he settled in, looks super cute. He's very handsome. He has a very good presence in the arena, I would say. His overall picture is really, really nice. So going across the center, again, I still think I needed more pace. I think to make those changes that much more spectacular, I think a little more pace would have helped. He's so talented, but he's so lazy. You got to push like every single step. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He like, you could see that I was building him more there for that one. And then he settles in for, you know, rounding around before I get straight again. Like from watching it, you cannot see how hard he really wants to like dive over. So that's good. That's good that it's not seen. It's just felt. Super cute. Again, I think we did a good job of like calming down after the lead changes and letting that log come to us. 1, 2, 3. So we call this a chip, where I had to kind of do a short stride before the pull in order not to split it or go way too long. And there he did it again, where he really wanted to stop. And so we're probably going to have to school that at the next show or whatever, because that's something that you can school outside of the pen, and you know, you can get through it outside of the pen, but it's like they know when you're showing, they know when you're not going to school them. And so you have to throw a couple classes every now and then and just go through it. Charlie could get on him and make him do it probably. It has to be me and him getting through that little sticky spot. So I do believe we were 3rd in the amateur that day, but I believe we were 2nd in the novice amateur, but we ended up winning the circuit champions of both. So that's pretty fun. Okay, now to trail. So now we're watching the level 1 amateur trail. We're only showing in the level 1 amateur trail. We're not doing the amateur. It's just a little bit above my pay grade. You know, it's a little bit better for us both that the poles are on the ground. Just takes a little level of difficulty off. So we start off with the gait. The gait is something that takes a lot of patience and knowing exactly where your horse's feet are. And that's just going to come with me riding him more and having a little more experience. We did a better gait this time than the first time, for sure. The only thing with this pattern is I went in kind of blind. So like I knew the pattern, I had watched some of the patterns, but with Hollywood being, you know, he's a been there, done that guy, you don't really want to practice the pattern too much. And so because of my greenness, we did practice the first pattern quite a bit. And then Jeff was like, yeah, we're not practicing anymore. So it's a pretty tight spot in between that gait and getting into those trots. And Hollywood made it work, but we needed more. My lopes were okay. You know, we went diagonally. It's called a ribbon. So you go diagonally, you make a circle, you go diagonally again. I did feel like he got distracted by something. I don't necessarily, I wouldn't call it a spook, but he got distracted for sure on the first little diagonal line. And then when I came down to the trot, again, I just had a hard time like finding the rhythm and finding that oomph that we needed. And so we did have to add a stride in one of them, which is not the best thing to do. But then we picked up our lope. I actually thought this lope over was pretty dang good. We did tick a bit in this class, but as far as my path, I thought my path was pretty dang good. So we didn't split anything. He stayed in my hand. The only thing is I did accidentally shorten my reins when I was going through the gate because I just swapped my hands. So I think that also kind of caused him to be a little bit more sucked back in the trot, which is why I was like fighting for my life, trying to get this rhythm and trying to get this forward motion. We still got our strides. Again, I'm very proud of our path. And somehow we got through these trot strides. I don't know how, because we didn't have hardly any gas left by the end. So then we trot into the back through. I stopped and I took a second. The back through, again, takes a lot of patience and knowing exactly where your horse's feet are, which is something that I'm not super well versed in yet. But we made it through. I kicked his butt over, brought his front end over. I'm just being really slow, trying to be mindful. I already knew that like my go wasn't the best, so I'm just trying to make him wait on me, which he was doing. He was being very good. And then you can see how much I needed, like 4 inches on my reins probably, and that would have helped his neck a little bit better. And then we took our time on the walks. I tried to keep him to where he wasn't just gonna like kick through them. He did touch them though, and even Jeff told me that one wasn't my fault. That was just Hollywood. But yeah, I mean, for the fact that I haven't shown trail on like a real trail horse or that complicated of patterns, and I mean the last time I showed trail on anything, it was Beyonce, and she was 5 and green, and it was 2014, I think. No, 2016. And then let's talk about Denver in the junior Western riding. So this class was the only one where he actually put his hand down, showed Denver, and let him go, because 30 days prior to this class, Denver was breeding mares. And so bringing a young stallion back into work after breeding, and you know, he was solely breeding. He wasn't being shown or ridden at all. Like he hadn't been consistently ridden since November. That's a big thing. And so a lot of the front half of the show was spent schooling him, getting him in the show pen, but like correcting things. And so he either placed really low or didn't place at all because he DQ'd. And so this class was the first one where he was like, all right, I think we're ready, we're showing. So let's watch. He's walking in with such a beautiful presence. Like Denver, and I'm biased, I know I am. Denver he has this presence about him, this expression, the way that his neck ties into his withers, like he just looks fantastic. And it is worth noting that this is a new class for not just him, but also Aaron, which is also a really fun journey to watch. So he gets over the pole, not as smoothly as he probably could, but it wasn't offensive, it wasn't bad. He's got such a cute jog. Then he lopes off, super nice, super cute. I do believe he doesn't have him going quite as forward in this class as he had planned on, but we're looking for control. He's a young guy, so we weren't looking for necessarily every bit of fanciness we could get out of him. It was like, hey, we want a clean pattern, right? So he was going probably a little bit slower than he had planned. But this is the junior, so he had to do the whole line. That was cute. It was in the center. 1, 2, okay. He might have been like this much early on that one, but not bad. And you can see the difference between like Hollywood and Denver. Denver is a little bit more like in between the cones rather than staying straight, but that's just the greenness of the horse. It's not bad. It was just what Aaron had to do to set him up for those lead changes, and they were still very good lead changes. I mean, where he's going to plus is the in-betweens of the lead changes. Obviously, his changes are gorgeous, but like his presence, his stride, his cadence, everything is just butter in between. So pretty. He really like stretched his neck out into that one, and like that front leg was insane. Looks really cute coming around there. I love how he's settling in between the lead changes. He's not getting racy. After he changes, he doesn't like continue with the speed. He comes back down. That's amazing. Oh, his face coming across there is just gorgeous. Again, I know I'm biased. Really, really pretty going into this last lead change. 2, 3. Really pretty. Really nice. He stays nice and straight in his body. He's not trying to like dive in, even though he knows he's about to turn. He's waiting on Aaron. Again, his neck, it just makes me, oh, it's so nice. So then he's coming to the log, 2, 3. He rated himself really well. That'll come with time. And then his stop was very nice, very square. His backup for his, yeah, that was really good. Again, it's like he won the class. So he won the junior that day out of quite a few entries. So he won with that run. And even in that run, there was lots of things to tweak, lots of things to improve on. Like he's not anywhere near being at his 100% potential. So that's even more exciting. So that was it for my very first horse show back. My first horse show with Hollywood, aka Nothin Compares. We got to watch Denver. We got to hang out with new people, make new relationships. I got lessons from 2 horsemen that I have looked up to for a really long time. We got to try new restaurants. I mean, it was just such a fun time. If you're not following on Snapchat, I highly recommend for these types of trips because there's a lot of behind the scenes and like unedited things that you just won't see anywhere else. It was just such a fulfilling moment to get back in the pen, have some successful rides, have some homework to work on, and it really makes me excited to get back in the show pen consistently. The next horse show we have is actually local, and I'm not going to be taking Hollywood. I'll be just taking Kennedy, who is Denver's mom, and then Ethel in the ranch stuff. So we have that to look forward to. Let me know if you have any questions, and if there's things that you want included in future horse show videos, let us know in the comments, and we'll see what we can do. See you in the next one.